subsection B, a card code or other means of access is validated when it may be used to initiate an electronic funds transfer, right? So whenever you get a code card or any type of access device, and you use that access device to do electronic funds transfer, then you're actually using the device what it's for, to do electronic transfers. If the system malfunctions, prevents the effectuation of the electronic funds transfer initiated by the consumer to another person, and such other person has agreed to accept payment by such means, the consumer obligation to the other person shall be suspended until the malfunction is corrected and the electronic funds transfer may be completed, unless such other person has subsequently, by written request, demanded payment by other means than electronic funds transfer. So electronic funds transfer is the prescribed method for transfers to make payment. Compulsory use of electronic transfer, right? No person may condition the extension of credit to a consumer on such repayment by means of pre-authorized electronic funds transfer, or require the consumer to establish an account for receipt of an electronic funds transfer with a particular financial institution as a condition of employment or receipt of a government benefit, right? So you can actually receive contracts and then set them up with the bank to repay those contracts by EFT to the other party, waive the rights. No writing or other agreement between the consumer and any other person may contain the provisions which constitute a waiver of any right conferred or cause of action created by this title. Nothing in this section forbids, however, any writing or other agreement which grants to a consumer a more extensive right or remedy or greater protection than contained in this title or waiver given in settlement of a dispute or action. General use, prepaid card, gift certificates, and store. All right, so this right here is where it started talking about the store cards and stuff, but I'm gonna go past some of this. Okay, yeah, give me a second. All right, so I'm gonna move from, well, I ain't gonna come back to it, but that's one section right here. It's a lot more information here that deals with, how you use the drafts and the checks, but I'm trying to save time, y'all. So that's why I'm showing you where it's at, so you can actually go in here and read this for yourself. But some people, y'all, I know some of y'all ain't gonna go read, and you're gonna miss your remedy because you're not gonna go read it, right? But I'm gonna go over this real fast before I go to the next section, right? All right, so violation respecting giving of false insurance information, failure to provide information, and failure to comply with the provisions of this subchapter. Whoever knowingly and willingly gives false or inaccurate information or fails to provide information which he is required to disclose by this title or any regulation issued thereunder, or two, otherwise fails to comply with the provisions of this title, shall be fined no more than $5,000 or imprisoned no more than a year or both. Violation affecting interstate commerce or foreign commerce, right? The reason why it's interstate is when it's in the district. It's foreign whenever they doing business with you, right? So let's go. Knowingly in a transaction affecting commerce or foreign commerce, uses or attempts to conspire to use any counterfeit, fictitious, altered, forged, lost, stolen, or fraudulently obtained debt instrument to obtain money, goods, services, or anything else of value, which with any 1 year period has a value aggregating $1,000 or more, or 2, with unlawful or fraudulent intent transports or attempts to conspire to transport in interstate or foreign commerce a counterfeit, fictitious, altered, forged, lost, stolen, or fraudulently obtained debit instrument, knowing the same to be counterfeit, fictitious, altered, forged, lost, stolen, or fraudulently obtained, or with unlawful or fraudulent intent uses any instrument of interstate or foreign commerce to sell or transport counterfeit, fictitious, altered, forged, lost, or stolen, fraudulent, obtained debit instruments, knowing the same to be counterfeit, fictitious, altered, forged, lost, stolen, or fraudulently obtained, or knowingly receives, conceals, uses, or transport money, goods, or services, or anything else of value, except for tickets for interstate or foreign transportation, which A, within 1 year period has a value aggregating $1,000 or more, has moved in or part of, or with which constitutes interstate or foreign commerce, and has been obtained with a counterfeit, fictitious, altered, forged, lost, stolen, or fraudulently obtained debit instrument, or knowingly receives, conceals, or uses, sells, or transports. So these are all the foreign things, that all the things that they can do when they affecting commerce is when they accepting foreign or operating in foreign documents that are fraudulent. Now, a debt instrument as defined and used in this section means a card or a code or other device other than a check or a draft or similar paper instrument by the use of which the person may initiate an electronic funds transfer. So I want y'all to get it right. The credit cards or the documents. Everybody's so caught up on the payment coupons. But what I'm trying to show you is that the debt instrument is the credit card. That's the credit card. All right. And you can transfer it and have it paid by EFT. Administrative enforcement, enforcing agencies, right? So it gives you subject to subtitle B of the Consumer Financial Protection Act. Compliance with the requirements imposed under this title shall be enforced under Section 8 of the Federal Depository Insurance Act. That's why I was showing y'all when we first started. You got to know the Insurance Act. You got to know how deposits work. You got to know how banks work. You got to know what's going on when they're receiving deposits from you, what they're supposed to be doing. I just don't have the time to go over every detail. You're going to have to do some homework to get it all, put it all in its proper perspective. When I'm showing you where all the knowledge is at, all the information pertaining to your deposits and everything, if you can get this together, you can actually live the life that you desire to live, and you can actually do this for all your accounts. All right. Once you learn how the depository insurance works, right? So the national banks and federal savings associations and federal branches and federal agents and foreign banks, member banks and Federal Reserve System and other national branches and agencies of foreign banks. So all these are all part of the depository insurance, and they all are bound under the, Insurance Act to deal with, deposits being made into those accounts or deposits being, so you got to remember, when you making a deposit, it ain't just necessarily you writing something and sending it to your bank. Not necessarily. You can draw against your bank account just by writing and saying pay to the order and putting your bank on there and telling them to deposit that instrument against your bank, or sending them a check drawn against your bank for an instrument that you're trying to make a payment of. You see what I'm saying? and you're making they're depositing all of that against your account, like on some real stuff. So once you understand that, then you understand that all those deposits are insured by depository insurance. So nobody can say insufficient funds or none of that, because everything is already covered. And once you understand that, you'll be able to object to anything that's incorrect. And that's why I'm trying to show it to you. Remittance and things like that. But I wanted to I had something else I wanted to show y'all dealing with the credit cards and stuff like that. We'll have to actually find it. Really dig for it and find it, because I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it. But I think I'm gonna open up for a minute and give y'all an opportunity to ask me some questions about anything else that you feel that I haven't covered, or things you might want to know personally about the card and the credit card personally that you might want to ask me. So I'm gonna open y'all up and give y'all the opportunity to ask a few questions, but everybody, you can't ask at one time. You have to be mindful of each other. If not, then y'all ain't gonna be able to ask no questions if we ain't gonna be respectful of each other. So I'm gonna allow y'all to unmute yourselves and ask questions. Who would like to start?
Hey, Brother Isaiah. This is Shantae Savage. I just had one question with you going over the Insurance Act and the EFT. So, learning all of this, is this how we basically get the cards to be like unlimited? If we actually go through and read it and get an understanding?
Right. Well, basically, it is an unlimited card when your account is funded. See, right now, your account is not funded if the bank has not credited you for something that it owes you for, then, and you try to do an EFT or something, they're going to say insufficient funds. The only reason why they're saying that is because they still have an obligation to you that has not been claimed yet. Until you claim it, then it's going to always say insufficient. If that's what you got to first get them to pay your account.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. And the way you deal with the bank is the signature card is a promissory note. So when you go to the bank, you're making a claim that they pay you for the promissory note that you issued to them on the day you open up that account for your estate. You came in and opened up an account in the name of your principal or your individual account, and you issued a promissory note to the bank and did not receive any benefits from the note. So now you're claiming, now you letting them know, I know that y'all got a promissory note in y'all possession and I issued it. Here's a copy of the signature card showing that I issued the note to you and I'm demanding that you pay me. Right?
And this will be all in our written instructions, right?
This will be for anybody though. Whether it's anybody that you issued a note to. Don't you think you should be getting paid for your notes too? We've been issuing notes and ain't none of us ever got paid for the notes. It's time to start collecting for the note now. How they gonna collect from you on the note if you haven't collected from them for giving them the note?
So, Brother Isaiah, let me ask you this. This is Derek. So, the promissory note being the signature card is issued by us, but it's defined as a promissory note by them?
No. Say that last part again.
So, the signature card that we issue to them being a promissory note, is that defined as a promissory note by the banks?
Right. So it's a promise. Yes, it's a promissory note because the application that you put in that the bank gave you to you was monetized and it was sold. It can be traded. So because the bank can monetize it and trade it, then you have the right to receive benefits for it. So, but if you never claimed any benefits on it or nothing like that, then you'll never receive anything. But you got proof that you issued currency to the bank and you haven't claimed any rights on it.
Okay, so that makes sense. So again, if I'm hearing this correctly, upon having them deposit to your account what's owed to you from the promissory note, which is basically full coverage, the only thing in between at that point, after you've corrected everything in writing, will be an act of God, or
Absolutely. There you go, brother. You got
that's
it.
it. That's
You
it.
got it, brother. You got it.
That's it.
You got it, brother. You got it. That's it.
I
Because because after that, the account is fully insured, $250,000, and that's per deposit. So that means that as long as the deposit that you make is not larger than the insurance coverage, then the bank can cover that deposit by paying the same. So, so if I got a car contract and I'm trying to draw against it, and I write a check against the car contract and send the contract and the check to the bank is supposed to cover that with insurance. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm showing that it's the principal's obligation, and then I'm drawing the check against the principal. And I'm signing off as the authorized person to make such payment on that account for the principal and providing the contract, which is the bond you see what I'm saying? So it all makes sense. And then that's why I showed you that when you tell the bank what to do, they have to do it. You're authorizing that the bank make the payment on the installment loan contract by paying to the Ford Motor Company by EFT the amounts that are due on that contract, because you have the right to instruct the bank to make the payments.
Wow. And on the same note, you have the right to instruct Ford Motor Company to make the statements deposited to the bank, payable to the bank.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Either which way, you are the one that's in control, because once you take the statement and then you say you give an order as pay to the order of your bank, and then you say and credit the same to that account that they saying that is due on, and then you provide your bank information, and then he ain't got no choice but to send that to the bank because you made it assignable to the bank. So the only way it can be paid, it has to go to the bank in which is being drawn on.
I mean, it makes too much sense. So the only question I really have left, that's the elephant in my room, is how long, when you became aware of the actual way to go about this process and doing business, how long did it take you mentally to get past that we've all been brainwashed?
Question. Good question, man.
Seriously, it's just really
good question, man. Hey, look, that's a great question, man, because man, I think that's the hardest part is when you recognize that you can do all this stuff. It's like believing that you can actually do it and it took me a while, right? It took me a while first to realize that it's as easy as it is for you to do all the things that you can do. And then when I realized that it really was, because at first I knew a long time ago that all you had to do was sign the document and send it back. But I could never validate that, though. I never read anything that validated that. I just heard it on YouTube. But when I actually started reading and validating this stuff for myself, that's when I was able to actually start doing things, was when I was able to see the information and know that I had the right to do these things. But it took me a couple of years to actually let it all sink in for it to become real to me.
For you to remember who you really was.
Yeah, it take a little minute because you'll know you can do something and won't even do it the whole time. You still keep paying your bill the regular way, even though you know that it's another way, but because you're so conducive to what you understand, you don't want to jump outside that, just not knowing. And that part right there keeps you bound. And it took me a while to get over all that stuff, like being able to say I don't need no job and all that stuff. Like ultimately learning that, understanding what was going on to the point to where I can get on the phone with any creditor and I can basically give a copy or say I got a copy of my service agreement and my jump on demand lease agreement, which are 2 promissory notes issued to T-Mobile. And I have not received any payment, and I'm hereby making a dispute against the account because you've been collecting on the note, but you have not made payment of the note, which was issued to you on blah, 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 blah. Now they gotta rebut that. And they can't. You see? because I'm dealing with substance. I'm dealing with, I can prove what I'm saying is true. I can prove I issued 2 notes.